Welcome to the webinar, Services in Zoho One. My name's Travis. I'm an evangelist here at Zoho, and I do this sort of thing. I talk to customers, I get feedback on products, I pass that product feedback down to teams, and then hopefully they use that to improve what we're doing over here. So I'm kind of like a pathway between customers and the development teams. And alongside doing kind of one-off stuff like this, that is my role here. So this is going to be talking specifically about services in Zoho One, and I'm going to do a few short demos throughout this too, just to show kind of some of what I'm talking about. But before I get into outlining what these services are, and then into the demo of some of the various points of these services, I want to talk a little more broadly about Zoho One, just so we're all on the same page. So we refer to Zoho One as the operating system for business. The idea behind this is it can power an entire business, right? Whatever you're doing within your business, we have something that can help you run it. And in fact, if at some point you decide you want to run your whole business on Zoho One, our goal is to have something that is entirely capable of that, right? So we tend to think of this as being in three distinct layers. These will help broadly lay out what Zoho One is, so that as I jump into one of the layers for this webinar, services, you'll kind of have a more rounded out idea of what is actually included beyond just the services. So the first layer is the platform layer, and this is for customization and development. So we have our applications and our services that we're offering you, but how do we let you actually build on those things, customize them, extend them out? That's what we think of as the platform layer. We have the services, which I won't labor on too much because I'm going to get into those, but needless to say, they're kind of spread across the entire operating system, all of Zoho One, right? They touch a whole bunch of different parts of the operating system for business, and then we have the apps layer. And that's, kind of what you're typically interacting with, 45 plus apps, whether it be CRM and sales, or desk and support, or campaigns and marketing, or survey, right? Those are the apps that are included. So 45 plus apps, a whole bunch of them. And the goal is that while you may be interacting with these day in and day out, these are not the sole thing that we're dealing with when we talk about Zoho One. It's not just a big bundle, right? That's kind of a common misconception there. It's more than that. And the platform and the services are ultimately what prove that point. So I want to talk about the services in this webinar here. Like I said, they span the entire operating system. So these are really powerful value adds that we've built. We have 45 plus apps. We have data from your sales, from your accounting, from your marketing, right? How can we build services then around that to make something even more valuable for you? And in fact, I'm just going to mention this up front. We've added 3 new services recently, and I'll be going over those as well as the other ones here. But I think it's just useful to mention, to say that we're constantly building these things out and adding them as we have more ideas for how we can add value to this and make something more powerful and more useful to you. So the services, as I will be talking about them today, are artificial intelligence, business intelligence, messaging, search, telephony. Some people say telephony. I prefer telephony. I think that's the right way to say it. I think the other way is wrong. And identity and SSO, provisioning and access management. So I want to start out here with AI. So what is AI in Zoho One? It's a service we've implemented across the entire platform, and it's all built in-house. We do a bunch of different things with AI, and this is something that, as I'm sure many of you know, it's kind of a newer technology that's rapidly advancing and rapidly being built upon. So this is something that is far from static. This is something that we're constantly building out and trying to figure out new ways it can help you and trying to enhance its abilities. These are just some examples of what we can do. For example, let's choose a sentiment analysis, right, is one of the things on this slide. It can read in Zoho Desk, a support application. It can read a ticket that comes in, and determine whether it has a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment for you. And then you can use that to sort out and figure out which tickets you want to take care of. Forecasting is something else that is mentioned here. So looking at sales trends so that you can better forecast out what the future of your business is going to look like. A whole bunch of different things, right? Handwriting recognition, which is useful for something like Zoho Expense, where you're maybe writing down a tip and we have to add that up. So a whole bunch of different ways AI is at work within Zoho. And I'll show a little bit of that shortly here, but I want to show it in combination with business intelligence. So before I do that, I just want to kind of get you up to speed on what business intelligence is. Of course, it's reporting and building dashboards. So within Zoho One, we have a bunch of built-in dashboards that as you turn on applications in Zoho One, it'll automatically build dashboards full of reports like this one, like the sales dashboard. Because naturally, if you're using a CRM, we know how your data is structured, right? We built the CRM. You're using it in the predictable way that people use CRMs. So we know, based on knowing how your data is structured, we know how to model that data and then visualize it for you. So why not just go the extra step, do that, and then put it all into a nice dashboard and give you some useful reports so you don't have to spend a lot of time building these things. Same thing with finance. So Zoho One isn't just sales, it's not just marketing, it's not just support, it's also finance, it's a whole bunch of different things. So following the same logic, we know how your finance data is structured because you're using Zoho Books or Zoho Invoice. And so based on that knowledge, we know the data models, why not visualize it and build a cool finance board for you, full of useful reports. And then the more powerful thing on top of all this, that stuff's very cool and useful. I'm sure you don't want to spend any more time building reports than you already do. But the more useful thing that we can do with Zoho One, because we're not just a sales tool, we're not just an accounting tool, right? We have data from all these different areas. So why not blend these things? Let's combine finance and sales data to give you reports like projected revenue, revenue versus expenses by month, give you a full conversion funnel. And that's the kind of stuff that is really, really powerful within Zoho One, where now you can actually combine these departments because these barriers are artificial anyway, and they're typically just the product of how these apps are built. But we don't have that limitation because we've built it all ourselves and we have access to that data. So AI and BI, artificial intelligence and business intelligence. I'm going to give a short little demo here of this. So I don't want to lose you here as I switch over. So I just want to double check. If you can still see my screen and you're not looking at the slides anymore, can you raise your hand? I just want to be extra careful here so I'm not ranting away while you're all looking at nothing. So you should be able to see a screen that says Zoho One Blended and has a bunch of folders on it. Anybody? Please raise your hand if you can see that, so I know that I haven't lost you all. All right, see some hands, cool. Thank you very much. All right, so moving forward with this little webinar here. I am now in Zoho Analytics. This is our business intelligence tool. You can use it to bring in a bunch of different data sources, whether they're from the cloud, on-premise, whether they're from Zoho apps or outside applications like Google Ads or maybe your Facebook ads, whatever the case is. You can bring all these different data sources and build reports. So building a report is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that, but you just hit create, hit chart view, and then you add in a bunch of different data sources, right? So I could hit, let's just choose a table, and this is just saying, okay, what table do you want to base the data out of? So here we have our little report builder, and these are all the fields from the table, the deals table that I've chosen. It's pulling that table from CRM. It's just kind of abstracting a data source to say, all right, let's put that into a more table format and make all of the fields these here. So I can take any of these fields and I can say, okay, I want to see lead source by stage, right? And I can generate this graph and I can change how it's laid out, and all that kind of cool stuff. But a more powerful tool, so getting that this is just generally how you build reports, right? And you can do a whole bunch of customization. It's a really powerful tool. This is not a demo of that. I just wanted to show you how you broadly build these things. This is one way to go about it, of course, but using AI, if I click on Ask Zia here, which you can see, using AI, I can just ask a question and it can build reports for me right away using standard language. So, for example, here's a recent question I asked it. Show me tickets by contact name. I could type that in, or I could just click this to ask it again, which I'll do. And it can build reports just like that, reading standard language, which is pretty cool, reading regular human language. So instead of having to go into a UI and drop fields and choose data sources and stuff, I can just put in a query. It'll underline these words, which is saying, okay, it's identifying this as a data source, and I can then modify it from there so that I could say, okay, when I meant tickets, I actually meant responses count, right? When I meant contact name, I actually meant department name. And it's going to generate these reports for me super quickly. And as you can see, it's going to generate a couple for me because it's kind of guessing at what it thinks I want. Using AI and using this reading of human English language, it's just kind of taking some swings and helping me out, and I can continue to modify and type onto this. So by status here. So this is pretty cool. Tickets, right? Support information, contact name, that's CRM information. By status, and I can just keep adding on to this and keep modifying it. Choose the one I like, add that to a dashboard. These are fully functional reports. Very cool stuff. So that's what I wanted to show you in that area. Again, here's another little GIF showing off someone typing, right? It's guessing what this person wants. You can modify it as you go, and then it builds those reports. So that's all I wanted to show you for AI and BI. Just a cool little quick demo. Hopefully you found that interesting. Moving on to messaging now. Messaging in Zoho One. We have a unified communication stack. So what this means is that whether it's web, like on the phone, over the internet, whether you're doing an audio chat or a text chat, emailing or video chat, we have that technology built in at a base level for all of Zoho One. So we have something called Zoho Click, and this is kind of the cornerstone for unified communications across the entire platform. And of course, it's on mobile as well. You can see this little mobile screenshot. So Click is similar to Slack if you've used that before, similar functionality. You can have groups, channels, you can chat individuals if you want. You can make video calls, audio calls, you can share your screen all from within Click. And you can also do video conferencing, so you can have multiple people on a video call all at once, which is something that's relatively new. Same thing with web conferencing. So I can have a conference call with multiple people and share my screen to all of them. And I want to show you a little bit of what this looks like. So here I am back in my application zone, right? I'm in the browser. I was previously in Analytics. I'm going to click over to this Zoho CRM tab. I'm now in Zoho CRM. Perhaps you've noticed this little bar down here. Zoom in a bit. The Smart Chat bar. As I click between these modules in CRM, notice the bar is going to stay the same. It's going to stay consistent, right? It's not having to reload that over and over unless I go to Sales Inbox, which is kind of a different module, different product. But you see that this chat bar stays consistent, stays here. From this chat bar, I can chat, let's say, Darlene, and I can really quickly start an audio call or a video call from this little chat bar while I'm in CRM. I don't have to click over to click in its own tab. I can do it all within here. I can also, if I click on this Actions tab, let me zoom in, I can open and click, so I can say, you know what, I want to open this in the browser. I want to have that just away and over in its different tab. I can do that. Some people prefer to chat this way. I can view whatever chats we have in common, so channels or groups that we share. I can share my desktop or add a participant to make it a group. I can do a bunch of very cool stuff here. And it's not just siloed within CRM and within the Click tab. We have Click on top of a whole bunch of our applications. So if I click on Mail here, I'm now in the Mail UI. I don't want to lose you. I just switched applications. I had it loaded up in another tab there. I can do that same chatting over here in Mail, right? And here's Darlene. Here's some channels that I'm in. Here's a little bot that we've built. Here's some groups that we're in. All right, so I can do this all in Mail and then in CRM, and it's all consistent, staying in one unified communication channel. And the context of it changes too. So for example, this smart bar, based on which application you're in, it'll display different info down here. So you see I'm in CRM, so it's giving me a few options. I can say I'm online or offline for calls. I can view any reminders I have. I don't have any currently. I can open up Zia. This is our AI, right? Another case where Zia is working within Zoho One, giving notifications, reading trends, so she could be forecasting things or mentioning just little anomalies like this one. 50% of your deals created in the last week are not touched by any workflow rules. I could then maybe look at those, figure out ways to build a workflow around them. Whereas in Mail, this section of the smart bar gives me a little search, right? And I'll be talking about this shortly, so I don't want to spoil that. But it gives me different context or different tools to use based on the context of which application I'm currently in. So I now want to move into search, which I just showed you a little bit, right? I clicked on that little search icon in Mail and it showed up. So search is something very, very robust. It's something that took us a long time to develop, over 10 years. And that's due to the sheer nature of the complexity of it. And we consider this problem. You have data in CRM for sales. You have data in Desk for support. You have data in books. Sometimes these contact names may be the same. Sometimes you have different databases at the back of them. So how do you build a search tool that's actually functional and useful and gives you data without replicating it and looking like a huge mess? Do I have to then go into CRM to search through my database there? Do I have to go into books to search through that database? What about in Click? Does that have its own search functionality where if I want to find the conversation I had with someone, I have to go into Click and use a search bar there? How do you make this work, right? That requires a lot of parsing, a lot of organization, and a lot of just understanding underlying data structures. I'm not going to bore you with any more than that, but needless to say, it's a pretty complicated thing that we're trying to do. And so it took us a long time to make it, but we've made it, and I think it's pretty cool. So I'm now in the Zoho One user panel area. This is where I can view my apps. I can go into the admin panel. I can view analytics. This is also where some of those blended reports I showed you. This is where a lot of those will live, or the reports that it builds for you and blends information across departments, sales, finance. I mentioned that earlier. I just wanted to show you that's where it is. But Zia Search is also in this area. So if I hit Zia Search here, it's going to pull up the same window pane that it showed me in Mail, right? When I click this, just in a different context here. And I can now search, let's say, Bessie Kennedy. There we go. It's saying, oh, are you looking for this contact? I'll say, yes, I am. And now it's going to show me every instance of Bessie Kennedy across applications here. So if I just wanted to see maybe she's a client, right? And I want to see all my mails with her, any posts I have about her in CRM, any deals I have with her in CRM, I can do that. So to break it down here, I put in Bessie. Here she is in people. She's an employee, so she's in our HR tool people. Here are the mails I have with her. Those are in Zoho Mail. Here are the chats I have with her. That's in Click. Here are the posts she's had in feeds and forums inside of Zoho Connect. This is like a internal social media tool, right? So you can blog and post on a company wall, things like that. Here's an instance of her in the CRM. Here are tickets that she's working on in Zoho Desk, so sales, support. So this is a lot, right? This is by no means a simple tool that we built, and it took a long time, and hopefully you can see why and just see some of the value in it. Because I can also, if I move over, oops, wrong way. If I move over to mail, I can do the same thing here. I don't have to sit in this screen and handle this kind of stuff. I can do it right within mail, and I can say Ken Parker, I can search other people, but beyond people, I can also search keywords. So let me find a good mail here. Let's say, let's see if this works. So I can highlight a word here in mail. In this case, I've highlighted urgent, and it gives me a few options here, right? Create post, create a note about this, add to calendar. But I can also have this little embedded search here. So search across Zoho. Now it's just showing me everything that was tagged, or everywhere it can find the word urgent within my Zoho One account. So you see this mail that's pulling up a report in Zoho Analytics about urgent and high priority unresolved tickets, and then some help pages as well outside of just our Zoho One instance. It's showing help pages that Zoho's written here that include the word urgent. So it's pulling as much stuff as it can about urgent in Zoho One. And I could also, if, let's see, I think this will actually show it to you. This will show it to you, here it is. So for example, if someone sends a mail to you, you can click on their name and hit search across all Zoho apps, and it'll now do the similar thing I did where it showed up the mail associated with Patricia. Same thing I showed, right? Urgent, they highlighted trade show, and now it's showing all the mails and clicks related to trade shows. So we've built it in so that it's contextual. It's not just an isolated silo thing that would defeat the whole purpose of it. So this is core to its functionality. I don't want to spend more time on that. I want to move on to telephony now. Hopefully search is cool. Hopefully you guys like that. But moving on to telephony here. Telephony is kind of a classic problem for a lot of businesses, because businesses have a bunch of different departments, which means you're going to have to integrate a telephony system across all those different departments, and it's going to be really miserable, and no one's going to have any fun, right? You have salespeople, they need a telephony system. You have support people, they need a telephony system. Your HR people, they need a telephony system. So every time you have, say, a CRM app, you're going to have to integrate it with that. Every time you have a support app, you have to integrate it with that, and so on and so forth. So we've tried to solve that problem with something called Zoho Phone Bridge, which is in Zoho One, which takes a totally different approach. Instead of tying your telephony system to your sales and support and all these different departments, you tie it once to Zoho Phone Bridge. And Phone Bridge is pre-integrated into sales, into our CRM, into Zoho Desk, into support, right? It's pre-integrated into all these different departments. So you don't have to go department by department, app by app, integrating this. And this works with whatever you're using, right? RingCentral, Vonage, Amazon Connect. And more importantly, we understand the business context then that telephony providers often don't. They're providing just a service. We're providing a service with context. So if I go over to CRM here, and I'm back in the CRM, we hit leads, you'll see this little green call icon. That's because we have Phone Bridge integrated here. If I click that, we're calling this guy Jengus. Hopefully no one picks up, that'd be weird. And we see the lead owner, right? It's giving us a whole bunch of information about this person because Phone Bridge is tied at a fundamental level with our applications. You can see their lead status, other ways to contact them. In fact, notice it says lead owner, Bessie Kennedy. If I switch over to contacts, it knows that these people are contacts and they are not actually leads anymore. So let me call, actually this one's a little more cool. So I'm calling Testman here. You can see now, okay, it recognizes it's a contact, but it also sees that there are open deals. So if I click on that, what's the open deal I have with this person? It's a $5,500 mid-sized web deal. It's currently in the proposal/price quote stage, has a 50% probability of closing, right? So it's just showing me all this extra information that another telephony system wouldn't have the ability to show you at all. And then, of course, I should show you as well. If I jump into Zoho Desk here, I didn't have to, okay, a lot of weird tickets in here. I didn't have to integrate it then with Desk as well. It's already in here, and I can use that. This person doesn't have a phone number. Let's see if we can find one quickly that does. So I can use that. Where is the working phone number here that we built? That isn't a totally fake thing. I can't find one, but suffice to say, I can use that same functionality here, and I can carry calls over from CRM into Desk, right? I can move these things around. They aren't static. So I've showed you this. Again, here's an example of someone that's in mail. They've answered a call in mail, right? They had a call, they were online, they picked it up, and it's pulling lead info from CRM. So it doesn't matter that they're in mail, it's not going to silo that information. It's connecting at a fundamental database level and displaying this information. So moving on now to identity and single sign-on. Typically you have separate accounts for each of these vendors, whether it's Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, whatever. And that means you're signing in and out of different things, and that can be quite annoying. Having a single sign-on point with Zoho can be super useful because now you just sign in once and you can log into all your third-party apps and you're good to go, ready to roll. And they show up, this is something that's pretty cool, I think, in the same exact menu area too. So here in Zoho One, in the My Apps section, we have Click and Desk and Forms and Notebook. Those are Zoho apps. But as you can see, we also have Salesforce, we have Gmail, G Suite, Google Drive. All that stuff is showing up at your core app launching level. So it's not like we push them off because they're not Zoho services and we think, screw them. We just want to make things convenient and easy for you and want to encourage you to use Zoho Single Sign-On for greater security and convenience, right? So they're all showing up right here. You just click on it, it's going to sign you in, all within the context still of Zoho One, using that single sign-on tech. And in fact, you can mandate multi-factor authentication for all of these. So even if there's a service that may not offer that, you can mandate it at a Zoho level and select your various authentication modes that you want to use, whether it be a Face ID, Touch ID, you want to use Google Authenticator, whatever the case is, SMS, you can enforce that across all of these different applications. And this is all on mobile as well, never forgetting that mobile's there. And it supports around 50 cloud apps out of the box, and that number's growing more and more every single day. Lastly, provisioning and access management. So also, I just want to mention, there will be time for questions at the end. So if you're sitting there wondering why I'm not answering questions, I usually just save them for the end and have a question and answer block. I will get to those. So provisioning apps to groups. This can be really convenient. So you can set up a few different groups. Because Zoho One is a robust platform with apps in a whole bunch of different departments, and you can use it across a whole bunch of different departments, it makes sense to build out groups that correlate with those things and automatically provision and assign people based on that department. So I can build a group called sales and say, okay, whenever I add someone to the sales group, give them access to these applications here: Desk, Salesforce, which I'm using, Sales IQ, and a custom app I've built a creator called Point of Sale. On top of that, I can add conditional assignments. So I can say, all right, every time I add someone to that sales group, read these rules here, and based on these rules, assign them specific permissions within each of those apps. So if their role is moderator, make them an admin for all departments. If their designation is someone that handles customer care for the Z phone, make them an admin for the Z phone, so on and so forth. And of course, if they don't match those rules, make them a light agent, which is someone with limited functionality within support, right? So you can build out all these different rules based on group, based on application, and move forward. All the apps that are available through the marketplace, you can provision out in the same way. And that is all I really have to show you today. I want to now leave out these little learn more links while I move into questions here. So pull up this pane. I'll go over each of these. If you want to know more about Zia, follow that second link. If you want to see some example analytics and play around with the dashboards and reports, this is something that's pretty cool. You can do that following the third link there. It's really cool. We have like full instances of Zoho Analytics that you're messing around with and editing. And then that top one is one that I want to stress here, Concierge. Concierge is where I think a lot of you are going to want to take the next step if you're interested in Zoho One and some of the stuff I showed you today and have a few more questions about how it would fit your business. If you go to zoho.com/one/concierge, you're going to see a form. It's something that we've built to help guide people because we know there's a lot here. We're doing a lot. And sometimes people see it and get a little overwhelmed and they're just not sure how it fits their business. This is a free service built toward helping you figure that out. So you fill out this form that's just going to ask you some questions about your business and what your goals are, and then we'll get in contact with you and say, okay, based on what you wrote, I think maybe you should check out this app. I think you should try doing X, Y, and Z in this app. And we can just give you some guidance and help you get started a little bit. We aren't going to do, full implementation services or anything, but we can answer a lot of questions and get you moving if you feel a little overwhelmed or you just aren't sure what to do next. That's what that service is for. And like I said, it's free. I really recommend you take advantage of that. And then I'm going to take some questions now, but if you have questions that you thought of after the fact, you can write us at webinars@zoho1.com and we will get back to you. So now